Point of that is we've heard 2 fracking bills, and I would just encourage everybody, you as the author, of course, are free to, I'd encourage you to be brief, but you're free to describe your bill as you see fit. But anybody who's testifying, who's previously testified, I want to encourage them to stipulate what they said previously, if it's the same thing, in order for us to keep moving. So, Mr. Nassari, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And in the spirit of your introduction, I was going to say I was going to keep it very brief. In fact, I was hoping to contribute further and make it into 7.5 hours if possible. So thank you, members and Mr. Chair. First of all, I'd like to accept the amendments suggested in the committee analysis. And second, I'm joined by Mr. Brian Nowicki with the Center of Biological Diversity. Oh, I'm sorry. He had to take off again. Sorry.
Cassie Siegel.
With Ms. Cassie Siegel, who's been here on the previous 2 fracking bill hearings. I'm going to keep it very short. I'm not going to read through my comments. I'm just going to let...
And moved and seconded. Proceed.
Just going to let you know that, as proposed, AB 649 prohibits the use of clean, fresh water for hydraulic fracturing and halts the practice in wells if any part of the well is located within 4,000 feet of a home, public building, school, surface waters, and underground sources of drinking water. And that's just to give you a gist. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. And so is my witness. With that, I ask for an aye vote.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll ask, with the previous stipulation, your witness to present. Nope. You're going to stipulate that you've already given us your arguments. That's
just questions.
That's helpful. We appreciate it. Any other witnesses in support?
Andrew Grimberg, Clean Water Action, in support with the amendments taken.
Thank you. Any other? Next witness?
Catherine Phillips, Sierra Club, California, in support.
Thank you. Next witness?
Tiger Jazz Big Stick, resident of Pacifica, in support.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support? Witnesses in opposition? And you know the admonition. So,
Mr. Chair and members, Paul Deere on behalf of the Western States Petroleum Association. The bill also does contain a moratorium. We are opposed for the reasons stated before.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Next witness.
Mira Girton on behalf of the California Chamber of Commerce, also opposed as a job killer for the reasons stated. Thank you.
Thank you. Other witnesses in opposition? Okay, what's the pleasure of the committee? You have comments, questions, motions? We have a motion and a second. Yes, Ms. Grove.
I'd like to just because this is another fracking bill, and the statements that were made earlier on the comments, and then the witness chose not to make comments on this bill, still puzzled me. So I pulled up your website, and it says, according to the data obtained by ProPublica, oil companies in North Dakota reported more than 1,000 accidental releases of oil. But it says in North Dakota. So again, I'm just going to ask one more time. It's just a yes or no answer. You claim to have 1,000 incidences of water contamination. Are any of those in California, and do you have any of those documents supporting that today?
Well, you know what? If I can interject, I'm sorry.
Sure, that's okay.
Ms. Grove, but I want to. This is my bill, and at the end of the day, this is something that has to do with a very specific, narrow-focused issue, and that's why I'm bringing this up. This is not a philosophical debate that I wanted to pursue. I brought this bill forward because it's impacting the water in the San Fernando Valley. 50% of the groundwater cannot be used at this point, and we're expected to lose total usage of drawing water from the ground in the San Fernando Valley by within 6 to 10 years. So this is something that not only impacts our use of clean water, and this is data that the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power could offer you as well. This is not only an issue that impacts our ability to extract water and be less dependent on water coming in from the Bay Delta or Colorado, but it also has a long-term impact of hurting our ratepayers. And by the way, I take exception to the fact that this is a job killer bill. I'm actually attempting to protect jobs because no one's really discussing of how this is impacting the vineyards, the $43 billion impact that our wine growers have in this state. And no one's really talking about how this can potentially impact them and the water source they use.
So based on your statement, are you saying that fracking is causing you guys not to have that water in 8 to 10 years?
No, I'm saying that the contamination over the course of the last 70 years of various manufacturing in San Fernando Valley has caused are the plumes that are now not allowing us to use and extract the water
But
in
not
San
fracking.
Fernando Valley. Yes,
have
but do you
oil
want to
fracking in your district?
do we want to wait another 40 years to find out what fracking's consequences were in the future? If we have an opportunity to actually discuss and stop something from happening right now, I think it's probably at least merits it for us to be able to discuss that and advance an issue rather than try to wait and see what 40 years later that we made a mistake.
I guess my concern is, again, jobs, and again, that an industry is being attacked when there's no evidence, and two witnesses on two previous fracking bills, and I realize that your bill is separate, stated that there have been thousands of cases. And there aren't thousands of cases, even based on the documents of their website. And then you are saying that it's because of the not having enough water in the San Fernando Valley. Yet, I just asked you, and fracking doesn't have any effect on that. But you think it possibly, or do you have evidence of that, or is there?
This is a growing industry, and it's been growing over the course of the last 6 decades. Do we want to wait and see what its implications are going to be in another 40 years from now?
They've been drilling for 100 years or more in this state.
This is a different technology, though, and it's advancing also. And it's been advancing also. And so I don't necessarily want to get into the debate of the science right now because I don't think we're equipped also with the appropriate witnesses to be able to engage in that. But it seems to me that this is just of the fracking bills that you've heard today, this seems to be the most moderate one that's very focused in one specific area and gives a certain timeline that it will not pass 2019, January 1st of 2019. And in fact, if the study could be done sooner, earlier, that'll be a regulatory stick that we have over the industry to be able to advance this issue.
I guess, and like I said, and not to belabor the point, I guess that if I or anyone was bringing forth legislation to stop thousands of jobs in this state, thousands of
Do you have
dollars of
numbers
revenue.
for those thousands of jobs as well, verifying that?
Oh, yeah, if you give me, I could pull it up or have somebody pull it up right here. I can tell you that on one drilling rig alone, there's 15-day crew, 15-night, 12-hour shifts. I can tell you there's a site crew, an excavation crew, a gravel crew. There's a truck driver that brings the gravel from the facility. There's pipe reclamation companies that produce the pipe in Fresno that wouldn't produce the pipe. There's a first, second, third, and fourth tier contractors all the way down from drilling exploration engineers to weed whackers on the lower general labor area. And then there are training facilities like ABC, Associated Builders and Contractors, and other companies that do training.
I think we got the
point.
point.
There's jobs.
But what I'm trying to
associated.
say,
And you know, this,
Respectfully,
briefly.
we got the witnesses and the author to stipulate that the points that were made on the previous bills would allow us to kind of move all these along. And so I would hope that you've had your opportunity. And you certainly have the right, but I'm just
And I do. I appreciate
pointing out that we're trying to
and
prevent
I know we're
it going 9
at
hours.
time. Accusations being made that there's thousands of instances, but you're putting forth legislation that could potentially halt an entire industry and eliminate jobs, thousands of jobs, from first, second, like a ripple of jobs effect. But yet, and you claim to have all these thousands of pieces of documents, but not one was brought to this committee for proof. That baffles me. I mean, if I was ready to shut down an industry, I think I'd bring a lot of proof to shut down the industry if it was me. Anyways, thank you, though.
Thank you. And I think in their defense, they said,
Shall I respond first?
Sure.
Just to clarify on the ProPublica data, I think Assembly Member Grove is referring to. There's 2 reports. There's a report which is 2011 data, I believe, which just looks at North Dakota spills and discharges. That's not necessarily water contamination. Lots of times you have a spill on an oil field. It doesn't necessarily get into the water. So that's 2011 North Dakota. The study we were discussing earlier, that report came out in 2008, and that looked at water contamination, fracking related, nationwide. So there's 2 different reports there. In California, state regulators don't even know when, where, and how fracking is going on. So when we have a problem, you can't necessarily track it through fracking specifically. State regulators don't even keep data on the rate of well failure in California. We can't get that information. We do have an investigation right now into the discharge of fracking fluid near Shafter, but we have a lot less information than we would have if state officials were actually tracking it and doing any monitoring.
Okay, I'd like to move us towards a vote if I possibly can. Mr. Bigelow?
At least I hope it's a small question. You said that you had a plume of contaminated water within your community and that you're very concerned about it. And a lot of this really boils down to the use of clean water. Is this not an opportunity for you to embrace the utilization of technology that could clean that plumage of water, recycle it, and use it for these purposes, and everybody walks away better off?
I don't know what the cost associated with that would be.
Would it be of your interest to learn about that?
I'd be interested to look into it, but I'm assuming that that would have been an option that the business entities involved would have already considered. But I'm happy to look into it and see if there's a happy medium. But again, the groundwater in San Fernando Valley, now being very specific, offers anywhere between 11 to 30% of the water consumed in Los Angeles. It's a pretty significant.
Right, and that's why I asked the question. Typically, plumages, people haven't gone after that water because it's very costly to treat. But if you have a willing partner that's willing to help you clean that, treat that, and then utilize it and benefit from, it seems like something that's made for all parties. Just food for thought. I'm glad you have an open mind. Mr. Chairman, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Bigelow. If there's no further discussion, I'd ask for a very brief close and vote on the motion.
I ask for a vote.
Okay. Can you please call the roll?
Do pass as amended to appropriations. Chesbro?
Aye.
Chesbro, aye. Aye. Grove? No. Grove, no. Bigelow?
No.
Bigelow, no. Garcia? Minatsuchi? Minatsuchi, aye. Patterson?
No.
Patterson, no. Skinner?
Aye.
Skinner, aye. Aye. Stone? Aye. Stone, aye. Williams? Aye. Williams, aye.
The bill is out.